What can tech learn from BDSM? This month, the FTC hit Shutterstock with a $35 million settlement for hiding hefty termination fees and auto renewals in its digital image pack. And this is after a historic $2.5 billion settlement with Amazon for tricking people into Prime enrollment and then trapping them there with impossible cancellation loops. Customer consent violation is big business, and it has been for a long time. But I think with the new FTC crackdowns, it is time for tech to learn about consent. Last time we talked about LLM. I got a text from my mom saying I need to define my terms so that she can watch my videos without having to Google things constantly. So I'm introducing a new segment called Telling My Mom What This Word Means. LLM stands for Large Language Model. It's a kind of AI that uses statistics to guess the next word in a sentence. Examples include ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Quint. Send this video to your mom and tell me what words she was confused by so that I can add them to the next segment of Telling My Mom What This Word Means. Last time we talked about how LLMs use annoyingly agreeable language to trick users into repeat business. It's one of those dark design patterns in user experience design that tricks you into giving up time and attention without your consent, then leaves you spinning with regret when it's 2 a.m. and you should have been asleep hours ago. Just me? These days we have like 3 options for communicating consent online. End user license agreements that no one reads, pop-up cookie walls on every website demanding that we let them sell our personal information just for the privilege of loading their website, and swiping away from a video the algorithm decided that you needed to see. In informed consent by design, researchers put it this way: there are very few informed consent procedures currently in information technology, and those that exist are grossly weighted toward simply absolving companies of legal responsibility rather than being concerned with the values of the computer user. None of that is how consent works in the real world. Okay. So what is consent? There are many ideas about what constitutes consent, but for this video, we will use the Fry's model developed by Planned Parenthood and the risk-aware consensual kink model from BDSM. In these models, for any action to be consensual, permission from all participants must be freely given, meaning that the decision is made without pressure, manipulation, or under the control of drugs or alcohol. It must be reversible, meaning anyone can change their mind at any time and all actions stop. Informed, meaning you understand all the steps and risks. Enthusiastic, meaning you do stuff you want to do, not just stuff you're expected to do. And specific, meaning only the specific action discussed is allowed, not like a ton of other knock-on effects. Even if we only look at those pop-ups that visually block websites and demand cookie tracking permission. Mom, a cookie is a text file stored on a user's machine. They can be used to remember what's in your cart, but they can also be used to surreptitiously collect information about users across multiple sites without their consent. Catherine Flick from Charles Sturt University wrote their whole dissertation on this, so I'm just going to quote. Rendering access to a service conditionally based upon consent could raise serious concerns in relation to the freely given stipulation in the definition of consent in Article 7 of the EU's General Data Protection Regulations. So some of these consent words are already sneaking into law. And here in the US, people are so pissed about the situation. New research did a survey in 2023 called How Americans View Data Privacy. And it showed that 81% of Americans are concerned about what companies do with the data they collect. 61% said they feel skeptical that anything they do will actually make a difference in protecting their privacy, and 78% said they trust themselves to make the right choices, but don't believe the systems give them a fair chance to do so. So what's the alternative? Let's start with wearables. It's a bit easier to see the consent principles in action with intimate technology that's literally touching and sensing your body all the time. Track users' heart rates and menstrual cycles and sleep. The Apple Watch can even blend passive touch with the ability to send touch messages to other Apple Watch users. And like all wearables, these products sit in a legal gray area. In the US, a heart monitor prescribed by your doctor is considered private, protected health data. But that same law does not cover biometric data collected by a wearable, which leaves consumers with very few legal protections. And like most wearables, Oura Ring's data is not end-to-end encrypted. Mom, think of end-to-end encryption like a postcard versus a sealed envelope. Unencrypted data is a postcard. Anybody can read it along the way. But encrypted data is like a sealed envelope. Only the sender and receiver can read it. This is why I make the family group chat use Signal. Signal is end-to-end encrypted by default. Okay, so how can we redesign this system with the Fries and Rack consent models? For consent to be freely given, the device's functionality can never be limited by the user's choice to share data. This means that devices must be able to function locally and privately just through a connection with a phone or personal computer. No internet connection required. For consent to be reversible, there needs to be an easy to find and use toggle switch, allowing me to consent to my user data being transferred to company servers. And when I turn it off, not only does all of my data stop being transferred, but any data I already shared is deleted. For consent to be informed, users have to understand how the data will be used, where it will be stored, and who will access it. Plus, the risk-aware consensual kink model requires explicit acknowledgement of risks and power dynamics, meaning users need to know the potential risks of company uses, data breaches, and government demands for data. No assumptions, no gray areas. For consent to be enthusiastic, users must actively choose to opt in with reminders that they are consenting. So it doesn't fall into what researchers call static consent, like a one-time accept button. For consent to be specific, users can only consent to one thing at a time. No more, can we sell all of your data to an undisclosed third party to do with whatever they want, but separate consent for heart rate, for menstrual cycle, for sleep, etc., all for specific uses for specific lengths of time. Rack also requires aftercare, meaning platforms would have to design systems to support users understanding and coping with both how data is used by the company themselves and in the case of any data being leaked or stolen. Are you exhausted just thinking about this? Because I am. But that's the point. If we held platforms and products to the same standards that we hold horny twunks at the bathhouse, Mom, twunk is a combination of the words twink and hunk. It's slang for a 20-somethings gay guy who likes to go to the gym. Platforms would have to think long and hard, pun intended, before they went through the deeply involved and inherently risky process collecting and processing any user data. If everything requires granular, enthusiastic, ongoing consent, tech will become unusable. If I have to negotiate with my Apple Watch every morning about tracking my heart rate and my period, I'm never gonna use it. Friction kills the magical experience people actually pay for. Let me stop you there. If privacy was the expectation, I would never have to opt in. There would be no friction. I wouldn't have to configure my choices every time I go to a website like I do now. It would be way less annoying and way more magical than the status quo. Local-only processing sounds nice and private, but it's technically impossible for advanced analytics. We need massive computing power to process all that data. This is just factually incorrect. Data centers are bad actually, and we don't really need them. Tracking health data from a wearable takes almost no computing. It's basically like a fancy spreadsheet. And even if you do want to do statistical analysis on when your next period will be, you still don't need the cloud. Many phones have dedicated hardware, specifically designed to run statistical models locally. And basically any laptop could run a prediction model on period data. Okay, y'all, next time we will dig into the underlying logic of all of this data, see what the metrics are measuring and why. All of my references are up for free on my Patreon, where you can support me to help making these videos keep happening. But I also need your like, your comment, your subscribe, your high points. Baby channel over here needs help. Your boy literally cannot keep this going alone. Okay, bye! Yes, I am in a parking lot filming this video, so I hope that you love my production quality. Okay, here we go.